Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the REDX Podcast. I'm your host, Haley Johnson, and this is the podcast where we bring on agents and coaches and investors and people that are very experienced in their field to answer some of y'all's greatest questions, and so that you can build stability and opportunity in your business. Today, we have Chris Prefontaine with us. Hi, Chris.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good. Welcome to the show. So why don't we just start with a little introduction of who you are, why you're here, and a little bit of what we're going to talk about today.
Sure. So I'm with smartrealestatecoach.com. We're in Rhode Island, the large state of Rhode Island. It's myself, my son-in-law, Zach, my son, Nick. We buy and sell property on terms. We'll talk about what that means a little bit later. I've been at this 29 and a half years. So I did do the real estate agent route for about 18 of those years. And we also go out and teach that same thing, buying and selling on terms, especially during this chaos, all around North America with students. Some agents, some not agents.
Great. That's awesome. You sounds like you work a lot with your family.
Yeah, it is a family. It started with me and then it grew organically with the family. Yep. And it's been that way, one shape, form, or fashion for the past 29 and a half years. But this business in particular is, it's all family.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay. Well, so a lot of our customers have been asking about investment properties and how to get started in that, because they've learned that when the market kind of goes down, they stop working, they're not making any money, right? So we have a lot of questions from customers that we've received from some of our surveys that we're going to answer today. Before we get into those, I kind of want to start with how you came out of the 2008 recession. I was reading your book, if anybody wants, we can also put it in the chats, Tony, if you find these on Amazon or wherever. So we have this one, The New Rules of Real Estate Investing, and also Real Estate on Your Terms, which sounds great, right? And you mentioned how the recession kind of hit you pretty hard. So back in 2008. So especially with the pandemic hitting and things going up and down, can you go through your story with us?
Yeah. So leading up to that, it was, okay. So in 2000, when I had my brokerage hat on, just because they can relate to that, most of the listeners, I sold that business to Coldwell Banker in 2000. And then from 2000 on, I was doing my own investments, but that led into the 2008. And so 2008 was, in most markets, a third to a 2/3 drop. And in most properties we had, I was signed personally. That was the conventional way. So the listeners would say, okay, well, yeah, you saved 20% and you purchased a property. So that was a nightmare coming out of that, trying to wind down all the loans and everything that had to go with that. So that took about 4 years to actually liquidate or let foreclose or work deals out. So by 2012, we re-engineered everything and said, okay, what are we going to do if we're going to buy and sell? And what are we going to do to set up a niche and techniques that are not going to be kicked around with the next storm, with the next chaos, clearly not knowing about COVID. So it's about as recession resistant as you can possibly get. We didn't just survive during this COVID. We tripled in volume, and so did students. And so we'll talk about why and how, but what we did is we said, okay, no more bank signing personally, no more bank loans. We do everything on terms, which is lease purchase, owner financing, and a little bit more advanced techniques subject to financing.
Awesome. Okay, so for the surveys that we've gotten about investment properties, the most common question is, where does someone begin? A lot of our audience are agents, new agents trying to get traction and be successful in their business, right? And I forgot to mention, if you're watching live right now, please ask your questions in the chat. It's a participatory podcast. We want your questions so that we can get those answered with Chris today. So I kind of want to start, before we get into all of the tactics and all of the meat of investments, I wanted to mention a quote that I found in your book that I think is really important to mention, and you can talk about a little bit. You said, your income is going to be directly related to your commitment to personal development and to developing and refining the skill sets needed for your given profession. So if you're not working hard and you're not trying to develop your personal habits and goals and things like that, you're not going to have any income, right?
Yeah, well, here it doesn't matter if you're an investor, it doesn't matter if you're an agent, new age, doesn't matter. What we've seen is this: we can teach people. We've got hundreds all over North America that we do deals with. We literally do deals in the trenches with them. Why do some people come out of the trenches in 30 days and do a deal, and why do some people take 365 and everything in between? It's the mental piece. It's the personal development piece. We teach the exact same thing to everybody. And so the game changer is going to be the personal development. So what do we do as an education company? We bring our personal coaches, myself, my son Nick, my son-in-law Zach. Whenever we have a good experience, we bring them to the table. Example: I was coached for about 6 months by Tony Robbins' son. This 2020 we did this, and we liked it. I got good results from it, so I brought him to the community at one of our events. My son-in-law Zach has a coach, Dr. Amanda. Great results, brought her to the community. So that's what we do constantly, so to help them raise their bar, so to speak.
Awesome. Well, can you give us just a couple, for the agents listening right now, a few things that can help build your mental peace, like you were talking about, whether it's meditation or it's mindset or things like that? What are some action items that people could do right now?
I would, because everything's free, not everything, I take that back. Because there's so much free on the internet, I would Google things that you're interested in working on. Like, here's a question for you to answer for yourself to tell you where to go with that you asked. Okay, so where you are today and where you want to be, I don't care if you're an agent or an investor, there's a gap. Okay, there's a gap. So what do you need to bridge that gap? Is it a coach? Is it personal development? Is it a money paradigm you have? We all have these, so you can't say, no, I don't have any of those. It's just a matter of which one you want to work on next. So we're constantly working on this question with our students: where do you want to be and what is the bottleneck? And usually it's one of these things. So I think you said, did you say one of them affirmations? I mean, that's one of them for me. I mean, there's a book called here, I'll even do this. There's a book called 101 Affirmations of Wealth. It's on Amazon, but it's by a good friend of mine who passed away. We have the rights to that book. If you want to put in your show notes a link of some sort, we will give them a free copy of that book. That's 101 Affirmations of Wealth. And we literally bought the rights to his book when he passed away. The family asked us to, and we'll give you your database a copy of that. I'm probably opening a can of worms with that. I don't know how many people are listening.
Hey, that's awesome. Thank you so much for offering that. We will definitely put the link in. Should they contact you? What can
they can email support at, and I'm definitely going to get in trouble, support at smartrealestatecoach.com, and put in the subject line affirmation book, and I'll warn them.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's awesome. So agents can go and get that 101 Affirmations of Wealth, correct?
Yes.
That's awesome. For me, just speaking about affirmations, when I got this job at REDX, that was something that was really common among the most successful agents, was that they were just telling themselves affirmations. And I had never done it before. And so I started, and I was even doing it before this podcast, like, okay, this is going to be great. It's going to be a great show. People are going to love it. And it really does affect your mind, right? It's amazing what it can do, the power of our minds and the things that we do that can either negatively or positively affect them.
Yeah, and I know people can say, "Oh, that's foo-foo," or "That's this," or "That's." Let me give you a very direct example. Yeah. We had on our show 2 days ago, Mr. Ed Millett. Now, if you don't know Ed, just look at his podcast. Google him. He is in the 50 wealthiest under 50 Forbes list. He does real estate at a high level. He does a lot of it on terms. He's going to be our keynote speaker at our event. And he said in the show, a key piece of his mental development is his visualizations. And people go, "Oh yeah, that's it." No, it's 100% applicable to what we're doing. And he's super wealthy, does many tens of millions more than us. And he's telling you to do visualization. So I'm going to give him credit for that, but it's a big part of what I do too.
That's awesome. I think that is important. Even the most successful people are still doing the basics, that a lot of the people that might just be in the middle of their career are just, "Oh no, it's fine. I'm good. I don't need to do that. I can be successful without those." But they're the most simple but so effective things. So thank you for addressing that. So I want to just address the people that are watching. Welcome Jeff, Tom, Amanda, Darlene, Richard, Michael, all of you returning returning guests as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. So Amanda actually asked a question a little bit ago that we can get into. She asked, could you discuss term financing versus traditional financing and the pros and cons?
Yeah, for sure. All we do is terms. I'm sorry, the name was it Amanda?
Amanda, yes.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Yes, all we do is terms. So that for us is lease purchase and owner financing. Let's stick with those two. Now, when you say compared to traditional, I'll comment on a few things, and if it doesn't answer it, ask another one. Right now, with COVID going on, prior to COVID, there was 62 to 82% of the buyers in any market in the United States that if you took a snapshot in time, they couldn't get a loan. Maybe a little credit thing needs to be enhanced, maybe some time for seasoning, maybe a down payment. Since COVID, that bar has been raised dramatically, as everyone knows. So if the credit score is not good, if the reserves aren't good, in the jumbo loans, it's very challenging. So we're getting a lot of the higher end sellers that can't sell with realtors, and they're not having buyers that get financed. So we have the entire market that can't get conventional financing coming to us. It's an enormous pool of buyers. And so I can tell you guys right now, forget COVID for a second. I wish when I was a realtor, I knew how to buy and sell on terms, because you now, with both ends of the spectrum, you can go to a seller morally and ethically and say, let me look at your situation. I will tell you if it's best to list it and get it sold conventionally, or perhaps I can buy it with my investor hat on. That's a cool thing to have. There's a big difference between the conventional and the terms financing. Different whole market.
Yeah, and you kind of alluded to it, but this is actually a question that we got on our survey. Is there an advantage to being an agent and also an investor?
Yeah, there's no disadvantage or advantage that's bad. If you're a real, we have non-licensed and licensed in our associate community. When I say the word associate, that means these people are doing deals with us. We revenue share all around the country, so they learn how to do it with us in the trenches. It's not just theory. And so if you're a realtor, yes, you can go into a home with almost no exceptions. And I'll give you one of the exceptions, and either buy or list that. Now, when I was an agent, and I'm sure you guys experienced this, are there properties that expire? Not you're doing. They just expire. You can't sell them. You did everything. Yes. Are there properties that are over leveraged? Yes. Are there buyers that can't get financing despite what you do? Yes. These are all things now that you can help. You can help that person, and you can be the investor there if you can't do it with your agent hat on. There's an entire profit center. And I'll give you a number, Haley. We have a deal we just did recently. We did it on a webinar for a different group of realtors. And the deal we showed was like an $86,000 profit deal. We averaged 75. And it was sent to us through a realtor. They referred it. And so I said, why don't you learn how to do this? Like, you're giving up all this money.
Wow. So there is a great opportunity in investments. If a lot of the people that are listening right now, a lot of the people that answered the survey as well are single agents and just kind of getting started in the business. So this is an amazing opportunity where someone can really maximize on a lot more income, right?
Yeah, it sure is. And here's something else to think about. The way we structure these, when I said the words, the number 75 grand, the way we structure these is 3 paydays per deal. You held the book up. That's what it talks about. There's 3 paydays. So you do a deal as a realtor. I know we did 100 homes a year before I sold the company. And so that's a lot of homes. But guess what? In January, I had to go, oh, man, I got to do this again to get my production the same. Yes, there's referrals. And yes, you have some repeat. But you got to go do that again. On these terms deals, we create 3 paydays: cash up front, cash monthly, nice income stream, and then cash long term. That's a different deal than I do a deal, I get 1 check. Totally different type of income.
Wow. And multiple streams of income, because if one goes down or something, like if you're just an agent and the market goes down and you're not having as much success, you still have something to rely on and to generate income from.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. There's a lot of uncertainty now. I know a lot of realtors are super busy this month, but I also know March, April, and May, because we get a lot of the business, that they weren't. And so how about having both as kind of ammunition to help buyers and sellers?
Yeah, it sounds very obvious that you would want to do that. Why do you think agents don't, or people don't get into investment properties?
Yeah, good question. And I was an agent, so I'm not stepping on toes, but sometimes it's just the blinders on. It's the conventional mentality. Why was I at it for 18 years and never did this? I never knew about it. I mean, I knew of certain pieces of it. Did I know about owner financing? Yeah. Did I know about leases? Yeah. But I didn't know about the whole system. And we've actually trademarked the 3 payday thing. So we created that, but it's a great tack on to what that you're doing now.
Awesome. Okay, so then let's get into some of the questions. Tasha asked, and like I said before, this is our number one question asked, so we can get more into this. Where does somebody begin?
Yeah. So, okay. So it doesn't, I'm going to talk on a biased basis, obviously, about our niche, right? So
right.
if somebody wants to begin with us, it's again, the family company. So someone in the family is working with you personally. This is not, hey, I'll get a call and I don't know who I'm talking to. So there's a free webinar. There's a few free resources. I'm big on free, Tasha. So you want to go to the free webinar at smartrealestatecoach.com. If you can go through that for 35 to 50 minutes, that'll tell you more. And that'll let you know if you want to look further. There's also a YouTube channel. And on that YouTube channel, especially if you're, well, actually, if you're an investor or a realtor, if you go to the YouTube and you put in Smart Real Estate Coach, on Sundays, we release what's called a Deal Structure Sunday. And that's a whiteboarded deal. You'll get it because you've done deals if you're a realtor. And we whiteboard the entire thing and show you how the 3 paydays are built. And there's over 100. There's probably over 120 now. So we expose everything, the good, the bad, the challenges, ways we do it. And you can get a sense for the niche and how it might fit in your business.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for the free resources. I'm sure our audience feels the same. And I know you can't give us everything in just a 45, 30-minute podcast. But where are like some steps that someone could start? Like step one, go to your website and check that out. But just kind of go through like the beginning of going from not an investor at all to starting.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll give you the ideal path. The ideal path would be go through the webinar. The book is a nice add-on to anything we do. So it's not like you have to read it before you can move on. But so do that simultaneously. At the end, I'll give you a free link, for the electronic version of that, or you can buy the hard copy on Amazon. So then you go after you go through the webinar, then you can take the online academy if you want. And so again, it's not with us working with you yet. It's online, and you can choose to go do deals at your own pace, or you can say, okay, I can see how I can tack this on. Those are the 3 steps. That's it. That's going to give you your base of knowledge. Then it's just a matter of how fast you want to run. Do you want to get aggressive and do deals with us? Do you want to just do it on your own and add it on to your realtor business? Either one is fine. You'll know when you go through it. Okay,
great. Well, then let's go on to the next question from Allison. How much money do you need to start investing?
This is good, Allison, because we don't use cash. So our lease purchase deals, our agreements are written in with $10. Now, should you invest a little bit in you, and will there be a little bit of an overhead? Yes. So here's how it looks. To get you to a 1 deal a month business is going to take some time, but to get you to a 1 deal a month business, depending on how aggressive you want to be, where you're creating 3 paydays that do average, our students average 45 grand to 250, but our family team is around 75. That's a significant deal. So even if it took you a whole year to get there, to run that business, even though you already have a current business, let's assume you're a realtor, then you're going to be at somewhere between $500 and $700 a month. That's including having a virtual assistant call your leads for you, so you're not calling and dialing, cold. So that's pretty low overhead. I mean, I was a realtor too. I get what goes into that business. That's a pretty low overhead to go ahead and generate those types of paydays. So relative to any other business, which is why I'm doing it, why we do it, it's super, super low.
So you're talking about leads, like calling people wanting to invest in their properties?
Yeah, so we get most of our leads from the same place that a lot of realtors do. So they're already talking to them. So expired listings, for sale by owner and for rent by owner. And then we're really big right now on free and clear property. So we'll get those lists online through our software, because there's a third of the properties in the United States right now that are free and clear. Many of them are on the higher end, say the jumbo loan end, and many of those are not having good luck selling right now because of the loan situation. So we're targeting a lot of them and having great success there, because those are all 6-figure deals when you start talking about free and clear properties and owner financing deals.
Amazing. So if I want to get on the phone, start calling expired leads, wanting to either try to resell their home, if I want to do that as an agent or want to invest in it as an investor, what does the script look like? What would you say to somebody who you're interested in their property?
Okay, so I'll give you two scripts. So I'm not licensed anymore, nor is my son, on purpose. So ours is simple. Now then I'll cross into the realtor. Mine is simple. Mine would be, if I got you to your price, are you open to at least purchase or owner financing? That used to be about a 30% yes. With COVID, it's about a 50 to 60% yes. For a realtor, most of our realtor students call with that same script. And if the seller says, are you a realtor? They say, yes, I'm licensed in your area. I'm also looking for property for myself. I have two options for you. Very simple. Cool. So you're the expert. Yeah. Picture this. Say you are a realtor and you're going into these homes. How many other realtors in your marketplace can actually go with the skill sets of also buying it right away? You differentiate yourself as the expert in the area.
That's awesome. It must give you such an edge and an advantage when you're calling, especially because we hear from agents all the time that one of the common objections is, oh, you're the 30th agent to call me, especially for expired listings. And if they're able to say, well, hey, maybe I would be interested in buying your property, then you just beat out all of the other 30 people that called in. I love that. That's awesome.
Yep.
So Sonia asks, which kind of goes into what we're talking about. Do you, when you're calling expired listings or whatever you are calling your leads, what type of investments would you recommend getting started with in the beginning?
Basic single family and medium price ranges, because they're moving right now. When I talk about the higher end, would that be a good first deal if you're in a higher end area? But when I say higher end, I mean past the median in your given area. So median price range for us around here in Rhode Island might be in the 3 to the 500 range. Right. Bread and butter price range. If a higher end, not where I live right here in my resort area, but just off island, higher end would be, $1 million, let's say. Higher end in DC would be $3 million. It just depends on where you are.
Okay, so you're just kind of saying, look around where you're at, what your market's like, and go with like single family, maybe if that's where you're at, but keep it average, especially for a beginner. Right?
Yeah, for a beginner, it's single family, median of just below and just above median. If you decide to go to the academy, we bought our office building on terms, 20-year terms. We didn't use a bank. We didn't sign personally. So you can do this with anything, but stick to basics for starters.
That's great. Which kind of goes into Lula's question, which asks, what is the criteria for a good investment property? And what is the most important thing to consider when looking for them?
When looking for them, Lulu, the most important thing is why they're selling. Absolutely. Because people say to me, how do you convince a seller to sell on terms? And I say, we don't ever convince. What we do is we listen for the motivation and we see if we have a solution for it. So example, had a couple recently, an expired listing. The couple was getting a divorce. They obviously didn't sell it, wouldn't have hit the expireds. They were $4,100 in arrears. And they had a home that they were willing to walk away from and leave about 70 grand equity on the table because they didn't want their credit trashed anymore. So that was a simple, okay, I heard that. Now I can buy the home. The one might be, it was a free and clear property, 10-acre estate out in Pennsylvania. No, not hurting financially in this one. Perfectly fine, debt free, but wanted to go to Texas to be with his 5 kids for Thanksgiving last year. So we bought that on owner financing, nothing down. Monthly principal payments. These are big deals. So all you do is listen for their motivation. And then the second thing, Lulu, is the term. How long can you get on the term? Because we were able to give that guy full price for the house. Why? And he made way more than he would if he listed conventionally. Why? Because he went long enough on the term where it made sense for us to make principal payments and get that way down. Motivation and term.
Motivation, term. Got it. That's great. And we just got a question in from Kimberly who says, what about wholesaling? Some say to start there. Is this so?
All right. Now I'm going to step on toes here. I have friends that are on my podcast that wholesale, but wholesaling is a job just like you have as a realtor. And that's meant no offense to anyone, but it's a one deal, one check. And in my opinion, a one deal, small check. So we don't wholesale. I've maybe done 3 out of several hundred deals in the last few years. Here's the deal. Wholesaling, besides being a one check deal and a small check deal, besides that, so you're spinning a lot of plates, is very competitive. It's just like when all the HGTV channels came out, we rehab. My wife's doing rehab right now, but is that our main model? No. Very competitive, which means thinner margins, right?
Right.
You go in and you say to the seller, I'm an investor. Well, I know you're going to try to steal my home, because that's what all the hundreds of wholesalers have told them. I got to buy it at 60 or 70 cents. When you say, no, I can pay market value, let me come explain how, different conversation, less competition, you're the hero.
Wow. Well, there you go. Thanks, Kimberly, for the question. That's awesome. So another question we got from Danielle, and we kind of touched on this, but she said, I don't have cash to get started. Is a hard money lender the best way to get started?
No, because Danielle, we're never going to buy that property. Let me give you an example. Let's say Haley has a home. Let's give a kind of normal scenario. Haley has a home for $300,000, Danielle, and she has a $200,000 mortgage. She couldn't sell. So I say, all right, Haley, if you'll wait 3 years, let's just give an example, pretty common. Yeah. I will give you $100,000 in 3 years and pay off the underlying loan. Now, what am I going to do in the meantime? I'm just structuring a simple lease purchase. It's a $10 deposit. So just picture you being in my shoes, Danielle. You just structured a deal with Haley where you said, for $10, I want to tie up your home. I want to do it on a lease purchase. And it's contingent upon me finding my tenant buyer to rent to own with. No risk. You find your tenant buyer. It's the easiest piece of the equation. You put them in the home. They cover the mortgage plus some. That's one of the paydays. And then at the end of that 3 years, you're cashing that home out. How? Your tenant buyer is cashing it out. And you're getting your 3 paydays all along the way. You put a $10 deposit down. You'll never take out hard money loans, and you'll never sign personally with a bank loan.
Wow. That is perfect. Awesome. Well, and then another question that I love that I want to get into, Jesus asked, what is the most significant obstacle that you encountered when you were starting your business, and how did you overcome it?
Jesus, coming from conventional real estate and realtor, like a lot of you, it was just the learning curve. I found a mentor, like I always tell people to do. And then I started piecing together other parts of this. This is how we built the family business, but it was the learning curve. It was getting out of the box, getting out of my own way, really, and learning how the kind of different nuances with terms deals would look and how that compared to conventional. I can't say it was a long learning curve. It was probably 6 months. We have it dialed in now for some of our students where they're doing their first deal in 45, 50, 60 days. That wasn't like that 3 years ago. So we've dialed in our systems to get you through the learning curve a lot faster.
Amazing. Get out of your own way. That's what I heard. I like that. And then he followed up with, how does it relate to the obstacles you deal with today on a daily basis, and how do you handle them?
Right now, because the skill set piece of, the getting out of the way piece, that's done.
Yeah. Right.
So now it's more educating the public, because say March, April, May, people were in a panic. So it wasn't, the old fight or flight. It was like freeze. And so the biggest obstacle then was getting to enough people to let them know that you're their guide. There was a survey done right at the beginning of COVID. It ended just like 2 months ago. The biggest thing your consumers want right now, the biggest thing is they want to trust you, and they want a guide. That's what they want now. That's a huge survey. It was before and after COVID. And so you've got to be there for them. That's all you got to do. You're not convincing them. You're just holding their hand through this process and through this chaos. I just don't see it ending soon. No one knows, but I don't see it ending soon.
So how do you build that trust? And if that's like one of the most important things, how do you do that?
Yeah, we have, so our network helps a lot. We've got a national group. If you look at nationalpropertyteam.com, that's our network of associates doing deals. So it helps for them to know that as a realtor, you have another solution, or if you're just an investor, that's great. You have another solution that's non-conventional, and B, that you're part of a national group that does thousands of these deals and has around the country. That helps our community. Now, as an individual starting out, I didn't have that. So when I just started out, you want to get through that learning curve so you can be the trusted advisor, frankly.
Great. Wow. Okay. And then another question we got from Andrew. He said, is there an equation I can use to determine how much money I should make each month on an investment property? Let's say I buy a $350,000 property and my mortgage is $800 a month. What should I charge for rent? And is there a rule or equation to follow?
Okay. So it's Andrew. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So Andrew, so I'm going to answer it like you were buying terms though, because I would never tell you to buy that with a bank loan. And biased opinion again, I would never tell you to rent that.
Okay.
So when we put a tenant buyer in a house, they are a buyer needing time. Is there a formula there? Yes, we'd like to create on every deal, as I alluded to, 3 paydays. We average 75 grand. Where does that number come from on the monthly piece? Somewhere between $300 and $1,000 a month. But again, you're not dealing with a renter. So a renter goes in a home and calls you for a clogged toilet. A tenant buyer goes in the home and they're a buyer and they act like an owner. You don't get a call. You're not a landlord.
Okay.
You're helping them through the process of getting the mortgage. So I'm not answering a direct formula because I just wouldn't rent. I can teach you the formula for the terms deals and get you to 3 paydays, and those are fun to do.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you, Andrew, for the question. And then from Gurmal, I'm probably saying that wrong, but he said, what would you do differently if you had to start over again, if anything?
Yeah, that's a repeat good question. So I would do something differently. I would have 2 things. I would have brought on more trusted advisors or mentors or coaches, whatever you want to call them. I did a little bit of it. I'm big on that. I've been doing it for years. But I also would have hired my assistant sooner. And that's a hard thing for a new investor because they say, well, I can't afford it. And in hindsight, I can tell you can't afford not to. So what we did is we call it the path. We take them through exactly what we did. So I started by myself, just like all of you, in 2013, after coming through the crash in 2008. And then I brought on a part-time person, then my son. And so we scaled this to what it is today. So we show you how to do that. The difference is we show you how to do it a lot quicker than we did.
Great. Well, so you like you said, people don't want to do it because they don't have the money or whatever. And you said that's a misconception. You should not do that and start building now, or. Yeah,
I would if you planted me in a market today, I would go there with a part-time assistant and run the same systems that we run on now on a bigger scale. Because I started by myself too, so everybody understands. Yeah, I mean, I started just from scratch like everyone else.
That's awesome. Okay,
the difference is most of these people, Haley, most of these people probably have some stability, some cash flow, and some credit coming out of the crash. I had none. So they can do it. I mean, this is doable.
Definitely. I like that. That gives a lot of hope, I'm sure. Another one from Amanda Smith. She said, have you ever had a buyer not be able to fulfill their obligation, and how did it affect the term transaction?
Yeah, it's a great question. The biggest question we get on both ends of the transaction. So a couple things here to know, Amanda. First of all, there are a lot of people that teach rent to own. You can go on YouTube tonight and find this statement. The statement is, well, don't worry about qualifying the buyer. Just put them in the home, collect the deposit. If they don't fulfill, you just do it again. Okay. That might be okay legally, but it stinks morally and ethically. So our system is such that there is a front end pre-qualification. So we're setting these people up to win. Now, even though we have that, and even over the years, we've made that more and more strict, do some fail? Yes. 2 to 5% of our buyers per year, so we've got it down pretty tight, have a life event, COVID, a death, a divorce, this out-of-state move. So what do? The way our contracts are set up, you have all kinds of options. First of all, I wouldn't put a buyer in a home if I had a 3-year contract with a seller. The buyer qualification would tell me they're going to be 18 to 24. That gives me time to turn around, especially if you're a realtor, and just sell it conventionally. Okay. Secondly, if you have a lot of time, you can put another rent-to-own buyer in there if you have to. We have a home right now that we bought owner financing 3.5 years ago. Unfortunately, it was the one of 2 of all 60 properties that got hit by COVID, and she had to leave. We put on the market and sold it in 3 weeks for the exact same price we had on the contract with her, with a realtor, because we're not realtors anymore. So there's all kinds of ways to pivot. I gave you 3 or 4 there, but yeah, it happens. I mean, there's a lot of mentors that will say to you, that never happens, everything's rosy. I'll give you everything that could happen because we've been through it, and then tell you how to pivot.
I love that, especially because you've been through it, you've experienced it. So you definitely know how to come from nothing, like you just said before. I love it. Okay, so another question, which is kind of related, but also I really like it. They said, what is the ideal daily schedule and activities to be successful? So I know that's a pretty broad question, but I like the daily schedule part of what does that look like for you, or for someone who wants to get into it.
Yeah. So the reason you're right here that it's kind of tough is this is important. That schedule that you just mentioned, whoever that was, has to match your goals. That's the big thing. So example, if you said to me, whoever asked that, if you said, I want to do, whatever, 5 homes in the next 6 months, I want to create 5 of those big checks that you just said. Yeah. Okay. And then I said, okay, great. Now, what do you have to give for that? An hour a day. I would say something's got to give. You have to change the schedule or you have to change your goal because those are not in sync. Now, generally speaking, whatever time it is that you have put aside, when you start, you're going to do 2 things. You're going to be studying, important, on an academy. And second, you're going to be making some phone calls after your VA calls them. You're going to be making some phone calls to sellers. When I started, I couldn't afford a VA right away. So for some people thinking that, I just called myself because as a past realtor, I didn't mind calling.
Right.
So that's all you can do at the beginning. I couldn't even tell you how to fill a whole week if you're brand new because there's nothing else you should be doing. After you get some leads, that's a different conversation.
Awesome.
You know what you could do, Haley? Probably going to get in trouble again, but that's the type of question that deserves a phone call. Like if anyone listening wants to get on a private call with myself or Zach, free strategy call, to say, here's my goal. What do you think that would take? That's what we call a strategy call. Just go to smartrealestatecoach.com/action. And what that's going to ask you, it's going to ask you 6 questions. Do you do deals? Do you do no deals? That's okay. There's no wrong answer. It's so we can help you when we get on the call with you. So I'm happy to do those strategy calls for you for free.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All of these free resources. We didn't even ask for them and you're just giving away. So thank you. And for our audience, I definitely think that you need to maximize on it. A free strategy call and then also the free 101 Affirmations of Wealth. That's awesome. Well, Chris, I mean, you've answered all of the questions really quick, which has been awesome. It's been rapid fire, but so much good information. But before we get off, is there anything else that real estate agents or investors need to know that we haven't got into?
Yeah, look, if you're passionate about creating, I'm going to make a kind of a bold statement here. During this chaos, in my opinion, you have a window here of about 9 months to create a decade of income. If you want to do this on terms, this is what I'm teaching my students to sprint right now. And how do you do that? I'm not so naive to think we're the only niche, right? There's a lot of good niches in real estate. So number 1, find a niche you like, or you can get behind, or that you think is good during this. I think it's where I am. Second, find someone in the niche that's where you want to be. And I'm not talking about just money and success. I'm talking about value-wise, and you can align with them, whether it's family or whatever. Third, follow that for 36 months. Now, that's the piece where everybody goes, oh, I can do that. I'm coachable. That's the hardest piece because shiny object syndrome sets in. And we want to run over here and run over there and run over there. 36 months with blinders on, following someone that knows how to show you the path because success leaves clues. You will have success. I don't care if you're opening a restaurant and take that path. Yeah. Just do those 3 things.
That's amazing. So find a niche you like, find someone in that niche that you can learn from, and then put your blinders on for 36 months. That's amazing. It seems so simple. And I think it's easy to overcomplicate, especially with all of these terms that people maybe not know, or like being an agent and not knowing anything about investment properties or how to get into it. But this, in that 1, 2, 3, seems really simple and manageable, right?
Simple but not easy. So you said the right word, simple but not easy.
Yeah, I think, and that's what I love about working at REDX, because a lot of our customers are just trying to work hard and be successful. And that's something that we don't say that it's going to be easy, because I mean, to be successful, and if you really want to get where you want to be, it's not going to be an easy road. There's no like shortcut or secret path that's going to make it super easy. But that's why we bring on people to the podcast that know what they're talking about, to give the steps to be able to work hard and then be successful. And so I love talking and working with people who don't want the easy way out. They want real things that they can hold on to and then be successful, right?
Spot on.
That's awesome. All right, well, we're wrapping up here. Is there any final thoughts that we can get from you, Chris, before we sign off?
That would be my final thought. With all those links, if you share those with those guys, then we can man them up pretty well and get them all rigged up.
For sure. Awesome. For anyone watching, we will definitely put all of those links down in the description of the video. And if you're on our website, we'll also put it on the website page where you can access and get a hold of all of these amazing free resources that Chris has given us. So thank you, Chris. This has been an awesome 40 minutes. So much knowledge in just 40 minutes. And I know that there is so much that there is still to learn in all of the resources you mentioned. So thank you so much, Chris, for popping on here and talking with all of our customers and the people that follow us. For everybody that's watching, thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. It's the end of the week, so we will see you guys on Monday with Nicole Espinosa, who's going to be talking about short sales. If you want to continue these kinds of conversations and talking with agents and investors, you can go onto our REDX forum if you're a customer, and you can also join our REDX Elite Prospectors group on Facebook. You don't have to be a customer to join that, to talk to other like-minded individuals who want to be successful like you. And if you didn't get your questions asked, or if you want to get your questions asked in the future from future podcast guests, you can make sure to subscribe to the podcast on our website. If you just go to theredx.com, there is a podcast tab on the top right. Just click on that and a pop-up will come up and you can sign up, and we'll send you emails to answer surveys and all of that good stuff. All right, I should get off my high horse here. So thank you everyone again for watching, and we will see you guys next week.